appearing now in just his fourth Smackoff. He's got 2 top 5s under his belt already. No one has rebranded quite like this guy. From Rat Smack to Straight Smack, he is one of the 2 Badger State callers today looking to bring that strap back to the Dairyland. Last year he was on fire before making a frequently reset and now very famous tactical error, but he is one of the smartest guys in the field. I trust he has learned from that mistake. We go back to Wisconsin. We go to Benny in Wisco. Benny, you're in.
Jim, quick question for you. Did you snap your fingers before erasing Vic? And Chael, you sounded like you were calling from the coffin you were buried in after the last Smackoff. Clean it up. Caleb, we can actually hear your phone crying during your call. Clean it up. Jeff in Richmond, the reason you're the dirtiest player in the game is because you can't reach your backside. Clean it up. And a quick shout-out to Pepto-Bismol for sponsoring the show, thus making Stevie Carbone and Mark in Hollywood's calls more palatable. Those things gave me nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Now, Jim, I know we're not supposed to talk about sex during our calls this year, but can I still mention the nachos on Caleb's bedpost? And Jimmy, much like Sarah T's 1950s-era bra hanging out on the clothesline, I have 2 points. 1, I'm here today to do what my parents did on the day that I was born, when they said, let's take this tactical error and make it into something great. And 2, I'm here today to drive stakes into the hearts of my competition. I'm going to plant so many stakes that Silk is going to have no choice but to report me to Dasmati or whoever the local authority is down there for setting up volleyball nets. There are going to be so many volleyball nets coming out of the chests of my competition that people are going to compare this call to that village in Lithuania that Richie Flores won't shut up about. By the way, quick shout-out to the clones hitting Rich and Brad's golf outing this afternoon. Between all the crabs and psoriasis joining that crowd, I'd be willing to bet that that course has never seen a bigger group of scratch golfers. And I can't wait for the photos. How many of those punks will be wearing those exceedingly ugly Adam Hawk shirts and visors? You know the ones. They feature a profile pic of Cliff Clavin with a turd hanging out of his mouth. Now, speaking of Cheers characters, Rick in Buffalo, you look like Rhea Perlman shaved her head. I always thought the reason Rick screamed throughout his calls was because he couldn't figure out how to turn off the caps lock when he typed his script. But as it turns out, it's because Rick is 4'11". When Rick makes his calls from the local payphone, he's got to knock the receiver off the hook with a broom and scream at the top of his lungs at it while it's swinging above his head in order for anyone to hear him. Rick, you're shorter than Kyle in Green Bay's life expectancy. But let's face it, you're a pillar among Cal and Vegas. Cal, you look like a human lowercase letter I. When Cal gets home after a long day of boozing and beard eating and more boozing, he has to cautiously scout his living room before he walks in because his lamp is always trying to hop across the room and stomp his ass into the floor like the letter I at the beginning of a Pixar movie. Now, people like to tear into Brad for not talking sports, but Brad told me he played water polo in college, which I guess is technically a sport, but let's face it, water polo is your parents saying, we hate you, but it's not legal to kill you. So instead, they barrel-tossed little Bradley into the deep end at age 5 and forced him to tread water while getting kicked and punched by all the other spoiled brats whose parents have had enough. Brad, the reason Rome refers to you as the GOAT is because after you drink a couple White Claws at the barbecue, you end up crawling around the grass on all fours, eating garbage, and making guttural animal noises. Hey, Bradley, do you want another claw, bro? Nah. Now, I made a tactical error last year, but what the hell is happening today? The tactical errors are running wild this year, man. Caleb singing Oompa Loompa songs and Mike playing TV sound bites and Left's cameo audio not working. These guys have rust coming off their phones. Why don't you guys keep it simple and relevant? You know, like Big Daddy Kane did when he said, battling me is hazardous to health, so put a quarter in your ass because you played yourself. Thanks, Jim. Let's chat soon.
Benny.